Hey folks, Captain Kurt Pfister here. I want to thank you for taking the time, whether you stumbled across this video on the internet somewhere, or whether you stumbled across it on YouTube, or maybe you're on my website right now taking a look at this. I can't urge you enough to take the time to really watch this video all the way through, because I'm going to educate you on a lot of things that people don't want you to know. There are so many scams out there. There's so much garbage equipment, you can't believe it. When I came into the sport, I didn't have anything like this to warn me about some of the garbage that was out there, some of the shady dealers that were out there. And under this scam section, we're going to have a lot more videos telling you some of the things to look out for. They just really, honestly don't want you to know the things I'm going to tell you. And specifically, they don't want you to know the difference in the quality of the equipment. And that's what I'd like to talk to you about today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, a little bit about Flight Junkies, and then we're going to go into talking about the Fresh Breeze paramotor unit and the things that it offers that you won't find in any other unit worldwide, and why they've been around for over 20 years now, doing nothing but powered paragliding. They're always on the cutting edge, and why they've become the most popular and the most widely sold paramotor on the market worldwide. So we're going to talk to you about that and explain the differences. So when you look at these, and you go to other websites and you see the other dealers and what they're selling, you'll know what to look for. When I first got into the sport, I saw a cage, I saw a motor, and I saw a propeller, and some dealer claiming that his was the best, that his was being sold more than any others, or that his is being flown by the pros, and his is the safest, his is the strongest, his is the fastest. Most of it is absolute garbage. It's crap. When you come to Fresh Breeze, you're going to be dealing with quality. You're going to be dealing with German engineering that's been around for over 2 decades now, and a company that's a real company. It's a real factory. It's not set up in a garage somewhere. It's not set up in some little shop. It's actually a real company, and you'll find out why their customer service is amazing, why their product is amazing. The availability of parts will always be there for you, and that's something you want to think about when you're coming into the sport. Not only for flying now, but for future flying. You want to be able to have availability of parts. Quite honestly, almost everybody dropped the ball on this when I first got into the sport. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I've been a pilot almost all of my life. I was also a skydiver. In my teens I started, and I jumped for over 20 years. I've got over 4,000 skydives, including base jumping and sky surfing. Did a lot of pond swooping. So I was a diver my whole life. And I was also flying airplanes as well. I've flown single-engine general aircraft. I've flown everything from little 150s to 172s. I owned my own planes. I also flew stunt planes. I flew a Pitts S2 stunt plane, as well as different ultralight aircraft, some fixed-wing ultralight aircrafts. Many of them which I thought was flying. When I discovered powered paragliding, this is true flying. This is the kind of flying I've always dreamed about. When something that I could just put on my back, something that was portable, something that I could just be in the air in about 5 minutes with. I've always dreamed about something like that when I was a kid. In fact, I used to have regular dreams of just going outside and lifting off the ground and just soaring. Nothing comes as close to flying as powered paragliding. It's indescribable. Every pilot I train says the same things. The bad news is, when you're coming into the sport, everybody is saying something different. Everybody's claiming to have the best. But let's go and find out why it's the best. I don't want to talk about hearsay that ours is being flown by the pros, or we outsell everybody. It is. Or even that we've been around for 22 years, and we have. There's a reason why. But I want to go into the details, and piece for piece, let's take a look at the Fresh Breeze motor. And you can go and take and compare these things that I'm going to show you with any other brand. Literally any other brand. We're the only unit on the market that does some of these specific things that I'm going to show you. And if you want quality, Fresh Breeze is the way to go. I made all the mistakes. I owned 9 different units before I discovered Fresh Breeze. Each one of them was a mechanical nightmare. They had some sort of problem. Cracking exhaust, cracking frames, the motor mounts weren't big enough, the exhaust was cracking, the carburetors were always getting gummed up. There was always a problem with them. Some of the stuff that I purchased brand new, the dealers were out of business within 1 year, leaving me no availability to parts, no customer service, my warranties were no good. And so I went through all this. I even went through the nightmare of buying used equipment, which is a whole nother ball of wax. I can't even warn you against the hazards of buying used equipment. As people are always trying to pawn off the wrong size wing, a wing that's worn out, trying to tell you things that, that this wing and this motor's only been used a few times. 9 times out of 10, it wasn't the truth for the stuff that I bought. Occasionally you can find a good deal, but in most cases it ends up being a nightmare. But let's just jump right into it. We've got to start somewhere, and again, you'll be able to compare the stuff that I'm going to show you. You'll be able to cut through all the scams. There's a lot of fancy websites out of there on the internet. There's a lot of great pilots doing some crazy aerobatics and doing some fun things, making their product look really good. But is it really good? Let's take a look what the Fresh Breeze has and jump in. We have to start somewhere. Let's start with our exhaust system, because that was one of the things that really kind of ticked me off about some of the other units. One of the first problems I ever had, as a matter of fact, when I got into flying powered paragliders. So let's take a look at the exhaust for a second. The Fresh Breeze has a very unique exhaust system, and I want you to note when it comes out of the cylinder and curls around, you'll see sort of a funny looking shape right here, and then of course we have a muffler system on it. You'll notice that our system is jointed in 3 different sections. We have a flexible joint in 3 different sections, one down here by the muffler, one by the cylinder head, and one about halfway. Each one of these sections is fastened by more rubber motor mounts, and what this is doing is it's actually absorbing the vibration of the 2-stroke motor. Almost everyone on the market doesn't do this properly, or they have nothing at all. Some of them, like some of the ones we see on the market, come right out and come up right by your ears. There's not one joint in there. And what happens is all the vibration from the 2-stroke motor, guaranteed, almost every unit I've ever had did this every time, cracking exhaust. So what happens then? Well, you're down. You can't fly. You have to take your machine apart, take the exhaust off, take it down to your local welding shop, pay somebody to have it welded up, put it back on, wait until he gets it done. So usually down a week or 2 of good weather, you're not flying, and then on top of that, you're paying somebody to fix it. Only to have the problem happen again, because it does not hold up. It's still mounted the same way, so it's just going to crack in another area. Fresh Breeze has eliminated the cracking. What they've done is they put these joints in there and then rubber motor mounted the entire all 3 sections of the exhaust system, and this way all that vibration is absorbed. And then with the triple exhaust, it's able to move, it's able to give, it's able to flex. We have a unique spring system on ours that when you do get into this, I'm going to show you this. Let's take a closer look at the spring system here. Okay, here's our exhaust system. Let's take a closer look at this here. Now, if you notice these springs and the joints, this is one of the joints. There's 3 of them, as I said. You'll notice a bronze bushing in between these. This allows the pipe to flex on that bronze bushing. But you'll notice the way we stick our bolts through the springs rather than put 2 hooks on there. The problem with a hook spring is the hook spring catches onto the side and it wears out in this section right here. So it'd hook onto something, but then it wears out. So the guys with hook springs are having to wire, safety wrap, safety wire these things, and they always end up popping off and breaking, and of course when they break, they go through the propeller system. But our unique design puts this joint right here, and if you'll come around, bring the camera over here, we have it down here by the exhaust, and of course coming out the cylinder head inside here. So it's triple jointed, and then of course we have these big rubber motor mounts that are up in here as well. And those are all over the place. Those are down here, those are up here, back over here behind the muffler, and of course behind the engine back in here, you'll see even more. So this really completely eliminates the problems that you're going to have with the exhaust cracking, and even people that do, again, put springs on theirs, this is a much better spring system. Okay, so that's our joint system. Now you'll notice, let's talk a little bit more about the exhaust. The exhaust also has this funny shaped section over here. This is actually called a tuned exhaust. What a tuned exhaust does is it puts a back pressure back to the cylinder head. It allows us to have more power at a lower RPM. Now why is that good? Well, first of all, your engine's going to run cooler. It's going to run quieter, which means it's going to last longer. You're not going to have to rebuild it every year and a half, 2 years, and wearing it out because you're over-revving it to get the power. Because we have the tuned exhaust, we're able to put a redrive gear ratio on that allows us to have a bit more power at a lower RPM. So everything's running cooler, quieter, lasting longer. Because we have a little bit more power at a lower RPM, we're able to put a little bit of heavier pitch on our propellers. You'll notice that after the tuned exhaust, we have a muffler system. Most people don't have this, and if they do, it's extremely ineffective. They have either a small one or one that really kind of looks like a muffler but doesn't really do the job. Many of them, in fact, some of the pricier ones on the market, you know, some of these package prices are going for over $11,000, and you're not getting this kind of stuff. They have their exhaust coming right up, no joints, and coming right up by their head. Right next to their ears, the pilot's head is going to be about right here. And so they've got this exhaust coming up here. That is a stock exhaust from a factory that makes the engine. We don't use that. Fresh Breeze makes their own exhaust. They actually did the scientifics on it to make sure it's producing the tuned qualities and characteristics that they want it to do. So anytime anybody claims tuned exhaust on theirs, chances are they really don't have it, because most people didn't spend the time or the money because they're not real companies. So they'll give you something that might look like a tuned exhaust but not really doing the job that it's supposed to do. Fresh Breeze actually did that. Okay, let's go to our next. Let's go to one of our next features that I'd like to talk about. Is our intake silencer. Most of them have just a filter on the carburetor. There's quite a bit of noise that comes out of a carburetor. There's several reasons why a Fresh Breeze is the quietest unit on the market worldwide. The intake silencer is one of those reasons. We not only put a muffler on our exhaust, and we're not only able to have more power at a lower RPM, which means when you're in level flight, you're going to be a little bit above idle. So you're very quiet, your motor's going to last longer. Then we also have the intake silencer on as well. Now the intake silencer is going to cancel out all that noise. It's got a filter on the other side, but it's going to stop that. Now this is a Simonini model that we have 4 different models to choose from, by the way. Depending on pilot size and pilot weight, determines which motor that you should go into. Now that's where you'd call me up and we'd find out which one is best for you, find out what application is best for you with your body weight, your terrain, the altitude where you're flying mostly, and then we'll make the right decision on getting you into the right unit and the right wing. Half the safety issues are taken care of with those 2 things. The other half is done with the training that I'm going to give you. But to reduce the quietness, we have the intake silencer. The next thing that's quieting our units down so much is the fact that we have a heavier pitch on our prop, so we're getting more thrust at the lower RPM. And if you noticed our propeller system, I like our prop system. It's got rounded edges all the way around the prop. Leading edge, the tips, the trailing edge, and of course we have the scimitar props with a little bit heavier pitch, and this is a composite prop, much quieter than wooden props, much quieter than square-tipped props. And you get so much thrust out of these propellers, and yet it's very, very quiet. The nice thing I like about these, not only are they quiet, not only are they more efficient, they also rev up to speed faster than a wooden prop. So you can get your RPMs up quicker. It's less work on the motor to get your prop spinning a little easier because they are much lighter weight. The other thing I like about a composite prop is the fact that if you do have a prop strike, if you ever do break a propeller, the problem with wooden props is they stop the motor so abruptly that most of the time, about a month or 2 later, you're going to be experiencing bearing problems because you've tweaked out your bearings and you've done some internal damage to the motor. This happens quite a bit. They're louder, there's more vibration, and of course with more vibration, then you're taking out the bearings on the redrive system too. These are very efficient props, very quiet props. And you'll get the kind of thrust that you need. They also look amazing, so there's nothing like the look of a good propeller system. Let's go to the next thing I'd like to talk to you about is our cage system. We have a dual ring cage. This is aircraft aluminum. This is not a lawn chair grade aluminum. This is aircraft aluminum. We have 2 rings on the cage. I'll turn this a little bit sideways so you can see that. And this makes it extremely strong. You can stand on our units. They're unbelievably strong. A nice thing I like about our cage system, let me turn this totally sideways and you'll notice that our propeller doesn't stick out past the cage. It's housed within the cage system. You'll see other units on the market, and check this out. Look for their side pictures of their unit, and one thing I would never want is a unit with a propeller that sticks out past this. And there's several of them out there. The problem with this is if you ever have a failed launch when you're in your learning curve or you're a beginner and you loosen up your lines just a little bit on your wing, with a propeller that sticks out past the cage, many times a loose line will grab that propeller and suck the whole wing in. Now you're out a propeller, you're out lines, and you're out a wing. So be prepared to spend money on that. So look at their unit, see if the propeller comes out. They may not have these other features, but sometimes they'll have one or two of our features, but look for ones that have the propeller sticking out past the cage. This is not safe. It's the first thing that, if you have a prop strike, the first thing that will break because it's not connected to the cage. No cage on the market will stop you from having a prop strike. If somebody tells you that, they're absolutely lying to you. It's an absolute scam. If they try to tell you that no one can get injured or killed or hurt on their unit, that's an absolute lie. If you fall out of the sky, if you do things that are stupid, you can get hurt, you can get killed. But getting good training and finding out what can hurt you and where the damage can come from is the best way to avoid that. But anyways, our propeller system sits inside, so you're going to have a much safer for your wing and protection from the propeller, for your lines and for your wing and for the propeller itself. Another thing I like about a Fresh Breeze cage, unlike the other ones, you'll notice there are no rivets. You want to look for other ones that have rivets. You want to look for other ones that have zip ties. You want to look for other ones that have a sleeve, like a tent sleeve, where they would put it like a tent pole through there. These cages are extremely flimsy, the ones that have the sleeve. The ones with the rivets going along here tend to degrade your lines. When you're doing a forward launch, your lines will slide over these rivets that they have. It degrades your lines. Many of those people charge about $20 to $30 per line when you need to replace the lines. Now you do the math on that and you add up the lines, you're spending a lot of money to continually wear down the lines on your wing. Fresh Breeze has eliminated all that. We don't have zip ties or rivets. Not only does that wear down your lines, but while you're launching, if your lines get caught on that for just a second, what it does is it tips your wing and you have a failed launch. So it makes launching much easier. It doesn't happen all the time, but it happens quite frequently, and it's very, very frustrating, and in the end it becomes costly, especially if it pulls you off balance and you trip and fall and break your equipment. With Fresh Breeze, we don't have that. We have an internal net system. Our cage is extremely strong. This netting is never meant to be stood on. It's never meant to be placed your hands against. It's very strong, as you can see. But when the motor is on your back, your arms don't reach back there. So this isn't for hand protection. And when you start the motor and you're getting it ready to run, you never put your hands against this anyways. So this is not the most important safety feature of it. This is mainly for the lines, to keep the lines of the risers and your wing out of the propeller. This is not made for the safety of getting your hands in, although it will stop you from putting your hands in there. Why you would have your hands up here, I don't know. Because that's not the way we start them, and again, when they are on your back, you can't reach back there to get your hands in there. Your hands are out here, so that just doesn't happen. But the nice thing I like about having this internal net system is that when you're doing a forward launch, or your lines will slide right over this smooth, thick powder-coated frame. We've got double rings, so your cage is not going to collapse. Many of the other ones that have a single ring, actually, they're so flimsy that they actually will flex. Once you're getting the drag of the wing on the lines, it'll actually squeeze the cage. Some of them have been even known to squeeze the cage. We have videos of this. We're going to be putting them up pretty soon. They will squeeze the cage right into the propellers. This takes out your lines. This takes out your propellers. This takes out your cage. And you're replacing so much and spending so much money. That's eliminated. We've got a beautiful double ring cage. It's extremely strong. It comes apart into 4 sections. So if you do need to break it down and fit it in the back of a car, Very simply, it breaks down. Velcro holds them all together as they do on most units. And this is extremely strong. And then you would have a 4-part cage system. Our cage system breaks down extremely efficient. It'll break down, everything will break down and fit in the car in about 5 minutes. Our cage systems, when they're broke down, look like this. And you can see that's 2 of them right there. So they actually fit together. And you can take, and again, there's 4 parts, so that could fit in the back of a car, in the seat, or in a bag if you want, a little a plastic bag if you want, or make your own little bag. But they fit, and they compact, and they travel very nicely. And so, that's our cage system. Okay, let's talk about some of the other features that I like about the Fresh Breeze. If you'll notice the side version, you'll see this 2 to 3 inches of thick padding, this beautiful pad. Behind this is a hammock type system, and I'm going to just turn it this way a little bit, and if you'll just zoom in with the camera just a little bit so we can see this in here. We have a real nice hammock system. You'll notice that our motor is not sitting against the pilot's back. Many of the units out there have nothing to keep the pilot away from the motor. Not only is it hot, it's extremely uncomfortable because there's so much vibration. It's unbelievable. In fact, sometimes on almost every other brand that I've owned, when the motor was on my back, I'd be staring out at my launch field, looking at trees, and they would literally be blurring out from the vibration. That vibration is taken out of ours on a couple different ways. One of it is we use extremely large motor mounts that you can't see without zooming in. And again, if you need to see anything, look in some of our photos on our website, click on a particular unit, click on more info, and you'll see close-up photos of some of the internal workings of the motor, the big motor mounts, the rubber gaskets, and you'll see the joints on the exhaust, close-ups of the carburetor. So anything that you do need to see is usually on the website somewhere. But it's nice that the motor is not against my back. It's got distance there. I don't feel the heat. And unlike the other ones that don't use any kind of a pad or a very, very thin pad, this one has a nice 2 to 3 inches of foam here, put inside a real nice cushion. Behind that, we have a hammock-type system sprung out here so that it cushions the pilot while he's flying. It's unbelievably comfortable. And that'll get me into talking about the harness system in just a moment, because we have a totally unique harness system. Only Fresh Breeze does this kind of thing. And there's so much more that we need to talk about. I like our throttle system. Our throttle system is very efficient. The thing I like about the throttle system on a Fresh Breeze, unlike most of the other ones on the market, is the throttle fits on your hand, and the 2 fingers that you need the most on ours are being used for steering. These 2 fingers right here, which are your strongest fingers, go to the wing. You're going to be you have a toggle in this hand, and you'll have a toggle in these 2 fingers. You could put it over all your fingers if you want. But on the other brands on the market, you see this is very easy to work. We even have cruise control. We have dual cutoff switches. The switches are low profile, so you don't accidentally hit them during flight. You actually have to press in on them, and they're momentary switches, so they don't just kill the motor. And they're very, it's not easy to accidentally kill your motor, so I like that feature. But it's extremely easy to work the throttle, and then on top of it we have cruise control. But the other thing is, I'm able, unlike some of the other ones that have you'll look at some of the throttle assemblies, it looks like a joystick on a video game, where they have like a knob up here, and then they have a trigger. Well, the trigger is being used by these 2 fingers. Well, that means I've got to use my weakest fingers to steer with. Now, you might not think that's a problem until you fly for about an hour, and your fingers are sore, tired, your hands are tired. This one, you can fly all day. It's extremely comfortable. It's rubber mounted here. It's strapped to the back of your hand so you don't drop it. It's extremely strong, and it's extremely efficient. It's very smooth to throttle this rather than a little trigger button. It's very smooth to gradually go up with the RPMs on this versus the trigger type throttle assemblies. Okay, the next thing I'd like to talk to you about is our gas tank. You'll notice that on a Fresh Breeze, our gas tank is located at the top. In fact, we're the only ones that mount the gas tank at the top. The Germans felt this was much better for a lot of different reasons, and I have to agree with them from things that I've seen. The reported fires on a powered paraglider have been very few. There has been a few though. And those fires resulted from having the tank mounted at the bottom. The problem with mounting the tank at the bottom for safety reasons is because when that tank is mounted down there, if you should have an impact with the ground or lift your feet too soon or don't put your feet down, the first thing that's going to impact the ground is the gas tank, and it can rupture if it's mounted at the bottom. The second thing that happens during a takeoff is sometimes people will lift their feet a little too soon, or they'll just throw them out all completely and sit down with a running motor, and they have a prop strike. Well, when you're going forward and you have a prop strike, the propeller comes underneath and strikes that tank. Again, you have another ruptured tank and another fire hazard, or another possible fire hazard. That's the safety reasons of why I don't like the tank mounted at the bottom. Fresh Breeze has eliminated that by mounting it inside the frame up here, putting it up here. It's very thick plastic. It cannot leak. The other reason that we like the tank up here, it balances the motor out really good. We have our motor here. We have our tank up here. It sits very nicely. It balances out the weight on your back. These are very lightweight machines. In fact, our power to weight ratio is better than anybody else on the market. We mount our tank at the top. We balance it out with our motor so it's balanced. It's safer. The next thing is it eliminates problems. By mounting the tank at the top, this takes care of 3 other problems going bad. You'll notice that on all the other brands, and you can go take a look at them, to get their motor started, they have the gas tank down at the bottom. Well, we've got to get fuel up to that carburetor to make the motor run. So the first thing they do is they find something sharp. A toothpick, a stick, a weed, something, and they reach behind and they find their diaphragm carburetor, and there's a little hole on there and a little port, and they got to fish that little piece of toothpick or whatever they find into that hole, and then they've got to grab a hold of a primer bulb, and they've got to start squeezing because they've got to get fuel from the bottom up to the carburetor. If they squeeze a little bit too much, the motor will not run. They've flooded it out. Now they're going to be tied up for the next 20 minutes while they take the spark plug out, run out the motor to clean out the extra fuel out of the engine. They're going to have to dry out their plug, put their plug back in, and try it all over again, hoping they don't flood it out again. The next thing is the diaphragm carburetors eat twice the fuel that this is a float bowl carburetor on a Fresh Breeze. It is not a diaphragm carburetor. Diaphragms, now that we've pumped the fuel up to the carburetor, we now also need a fuel pump, and then we also need a diaphragm. The diaphragm inside a diaphragm carburetor actually moves back and forth and pumps the fuel into the cylinder head and keeps the motor running. Well, why is that bad? Well, temperature change makes that diaphragm expand or contract. So you're constantly trying to tweak out your motor to either get it started, period, or to even make it run right. They're extremely finicky. They have very small ventries, so even the slightest bit of dirt, and they're getting clogged up. You're now spending twice as much on fuel and getting half the air time. The next thing that the problem is they need a fuel pump. So we've got 3 more things to go wrong in flight. We've got a primer bulb that can start leaking and go bad. It allows air into the fuel line, which then causes your motor to shut off while you're flying. We have a diaphragm that goes bad, which shuts your motor off and is very finicky to keep running and eating twice the gas. We have a fuel pump that can go bad. These things are completely eliminated. The Germans said, hey, we've got gravity. It's always there. Let's use it. And so they mounted their tank at the top. We always have gravity to a float bowl carburetor. There are no diaphragms to wear out. There are no fuel pumps to go bad. There are no primer bulbs to go bad. 3 things that are going to make you land somewhere you don't want to land or even give you a problem and keep you from flying. 3 things gone bad that are completely eliminated. A Fresh Breeze will start first or second pull out of the box. To get fuel into it, we have a good old-fashioned choke on the other side. Again, you can go on my website, take a close-up look at the Bing carburetor. We've got a good old-fashioned choke. You put the choke on, you pull the cord, it's running. Brings me to my next point. There's a couple other reasons why a Fresh Breeze is so easy to start. Run from anything that's got an electrical start. You can get one if you want one for a Fresh Breeze, but I've been selling Fresh Breeze for over a decade and a half now. I've been the top instructor in the United States, and all the other ones that are using a electric start, many times do not have a good old-fashioned pull starter. They have just the electrical start. Well, let's talk about that for a second. An electric start, here's the problems you're going to have with it. The battery packs are continually going dead. They completely lose their power. They're not being discharged and recharged properly with this type of system. Excuse me. So they're constantly going bad. So with their finicky diaphragm carburetors, you press that starter button, you're going to get a few turns, and it's going to go zhuzh, 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 and then it's done. So if it doesn't start immediately, you're pretty much out of luck. If you want to land somewhere, go off and explore and land in a place and do a little bit of hiking, you might come back to a motor that isn't going to start. Well, their solution is a couple different solutions. Spend another $100 and get another battery pack so you can carry it with you. Oh, and some tools to put it in. And carry all that stuff with you because you may not get it started. And then the other thing is, if that doesn't work and you don't want to carry all these tools, they want you to stick your fingers in the propeller and stick this against a tree somewhere and give it a prop start. Well, you run a risk of cutting your fingers off. These are the same people that tell you how important it is to have netting and safety on their cages, but then they tell you if your motor doesn't start because of the battery going dead, you can hand start and hand prop start your propeller. It's absolutely insane. And so then you've got to get into a running motor somewhere. There's nothing but electrical problems with the charging systems as well. To keep the batteries charged, they're frying out all the time. You're adding about 9 pounds more weight onto your total package when you put a starter motor in, you put the battery pack on, you put the wheel, the toothed wheel for the Bendix to come out and engage the starter motor. So by the time you get done, you've added about 9 pounds extra, and you added a whole world of problems. It might seem cool to press a button and have it running, but it doesn't always work that way. You're not seeing the bad, and they're not telling you the hazards of this. In fact, they'll downright deny it. But run from anything that's got a electrical starter. This has got a good old-fashioned pull starter on it. What makes it easy, and it's located right by your hip when you're in level flight. I'm going to turn this around a little bit so you can see. When this is flying, my head is about right here. Another thing I like about the cage, I want to go back to that, is this is cut out here. Now you think, well, that's not safe. Well, you're not putting your hand here when you start it. You're putting your hands on the frame. But the nice thing is, when you have the other ones that come up right here, they have a flat piece or they have part of the cage, look for ones that have a part of the cage right here. Because you're not going to be able to see your wing at all. You're not going to know what it's doing. And it's much easier to look at your wing and see what it's doing than to try to learn by feel. And that brings up a whole other topic that we're not going to talk about right now, about the training. But our pull starter is located right down here. It's located by your hip when you're in flight. It's down by your left hip. And you can literally shut this off and restart it in the air with one hand. This is not even our biggest unit. My wife is about 120 pounds, and she can start even the biggest unit with one hand, and does continually. She can start it right up. Couple of reasons why it's so easy to start a Fresh Breeze is, first of all, again, the carburation. It's a very positive carburation. We have a good old-fashioned choke. Another reason is, only a Fresh Breeze has this. They come with HEIS. That stands for a high-energy ignition system. Only Fresh Breeze has the high-energy ignition system. All the other ones have stock ignition systems on them, and so they're very finicky. They have a very weak spark. The high-energy ignition system will produce about 3 times hotter spark. It's more positive spark, and then we also have a digital advanced ignition. Nobody else has this but the German-engineered Fresh Breeze, and it makes them extremely easy to start. And on top of that, inside the cylinder head, we have what's called a decompression system. What it does is it allows you, as you're trying to pull this, you'll notice this turns over very easy. I've got 2 fingers on it, and I can turn it over. Just 2 fingers. And the reason that's so easy is because inside the motor there's an internal decompression system, and what it does is it bleeds off some of the inside pressure of the cylinder when the piston is getting its compression stroke. And so you're able to pull it at a very low RPMs, and it bleeds off that extra pressure, making it extremely easy to start. When I'm flying around, I can shut my motor off, soar around for a little bit. As I get lower and I'm coming to the ground, I can literally reach down with one hand and restart it. I don't have any of the electrical problems. I'm not buying batteries. I'm not running a risk of chopping my fingers off by trying to prop start it if I can't get my finicky diaphragm started. Unlike a battery, I'm not going to wear out. If I need a few more pulls, I got it available. If I get tired, I can wait a couple seconds and re-pull if I'm having a problem starting it. But we really don't flood ours out. We're not priming it. We're not doing any of that. So the carburetor problems are absolutely eliminated. Okay, some of the other things I want to talk about that a Fresh Breeze has, and just some facts about them. Some of the things we can show you again from the outside: the gas tank, the propeller system, the joints in the exhaust silencer, the intake silencer, the double ring cage. There's some things about the inside of the motor that you can't see. And now I'm going to explain something that's really important. These are air-cooled engines. You want them to run cooler. You want them to last long. They're very easy to work on. However, many of the other ones on the inside are very poor quality. They're not going to last very long. In fact, you can even see, for example, this is our Simonini model. There are many different motors being used on the market. A lot of different brands, you know, they change their cage. They have a different look. But a lot of them are all using the same type of motor systems. Now let me tell you what they do. On the crankshaft of all of the other ones on the market, they're using ball bearings for the crankshaft bearings. They're simple ball bearing crankshaft bearings. Fresh Breeze takes them right out at the factory, throws them in the trash. They're absolute garbage compared to a high-performance, German-engineered roller bearing. The roller bearings are much smoother, less vibration. They don't wear out as quick. They last 3 times longer than the ball bearings on a crankshaft. So you're not going to be replacing your bearings when you do an overhaul. You're not going to have to overhaul it every year and a half to redo it. It's going to be years down the line before you have to rebuild it. And when you do, it's extremely easy because all you're going to do is put some rings on it and throw some bearings on it and put it back together. You can literally do it in your garage in a couple hours. With the other ones, they also don't have the same type of cylinder that we have. The other ones on the market have a stock cylinder. The stock cylinder works great for a while, but it produces a lot more heat, which makes more wear on the motor. It's going to run hotter for you. And they don't have enlarged cylinder heads, nor do they turn their motor upside down to dissipate the heat off the cylinder head. So theirs are running even hotter, so you're going to be rebuilding them even more. Fresh Breeze has a nickel coated cylinder inside this cylinder head. And what that's doing is it's having less friction, it's a much smoother surface, so your piston is creating less heat, which means you're not going to be rebuilding this every year and a half. Better bearings, better cylinder head, and then on top of that, you've got the carbon fiber prop. We're just kind of recapping here. These are the things that you're not going to get on the other brands. Triple jointed exhaust, composite prop with all rounded edges, heavier pitch, tuned exhaust, intake silencer, exhaust silencer, float bowl carburetor that gets twice the fuel efficiency than the other ones, a top-mounted gas tank, a high-energy ignition system, high-performance roller bearings on the crankshaft, nickel-coated cylinders, inverted motor, just everything that makes a Fresh Breeze. Double ring cage is so unique to Fresh Breeze that when you look at it a second time, and now that you know these facts, you'll see the difference. And please, go back and compare it to any other brand out there. I want to tell you about our harness system too, by the way, because our harness system is very unique. Let's take a closer look at our harness system. Okay, folks, this is our Fresh Breeze harness system. It's very unique, and in fact, it's unique only to Fresh Breeze. The nice thing I like about this harness system, first of all, it's adjustable to any size pilot. And to get in your machine, it's as easy as putting on a vest, just like you're getting dressed. And with the other ones on the market, you actually have these bars that come out here. They call them comfort bars. And by the way, we offer that option. If somebody wants the comfort bar system, if they should choose that over this type of system, we have that available. We have a couple of areas right here that we have a couple of receivers built right into the frame of the Fresh Breeze. So if you do want that type of harness system, we do offer it. It's your choice. I personally like one with a little bit more options, and I'll tell you why I like this harness system a little bit better. And this one comes standard. There's no extra charge for this harness system. There's no extra charge to go with a comfort bar system. This is much better than the comfort bar system. If you look at every other one out on the market, they have these big, gigantic, bulky arms alongside you. They're cumbersome when you're flying. They're cumbersome when you're launching. They just stick out. They don't offer very good weight shift qualities. If you want to get weight shift, which is a real nice feature, weight shift allows you to steer and power your glider without the use of your hands on the steering toggles. And what you'll do is you'll basically cross your leg or lean to one side, and you can actually steer towards that direction. So if you're up there taking photos and you want to stay on a heading, you can kind of swivel. This comes standard with a Fresh Breeze. Some of the other ones charge more for that, and they have some big bars that move and they swivel at the joints coming right out of the frame here. A Fresh Breeze harness is so much better. It's much more comfortable. It doesn't matter whether you're a 4-foot person. You can adjust your harness to fit any size body, any pilot weight. If you're a thinner man, if you're a heavier man, you can adjust this to 7 foot, from 7 foot tall down to about 4'5". And it has lumbar supports. It has adjustable positions for the seat, so you can raise the seat up. Nice thing I like about this one as well, some of the other brands on the market, if you look at their harness system, they actually come up. Their straps come right up the middle and then connect right here. How do I say this in a nice way? If you're planning on having a family later on, you probably don't want this type of harness system. It's painful and you're not going to like it. It hurts on takeoff every time. But ours go off to the side here and they connect to your legs, so you're being lifted by the sides of your legs and the back side. We have a nice belly strap here. Again, it's adjustable to every way. The nice thing about this is I just got in my machine, and while I was talking to you, that's all it took to get in. I could just come over here, and if I was getting ready to fly, I would simply throw these over me. I'd put these straps on, and I would connect up to right here. I have these carabiners on the side, and I'd be in my machine ready to go. And so I don't have the big bars in my way. It's very comfortable when I'm flying. I can take photos, I can move around. I'm very safe. I cannot fall out of the harness, but I'm not restricted and chained in or locked into a certain position, and very uncomfortable when you're taking long flights. It's unbelievably comfortable. It's padded. It's easy to get into. The nice thing about it is for guys that have knee problems and, you know, in the past, it's very easy to get into a Fresh Breeze and stand up. And that was another reason that I liked having the tank at the top. With nothing under here, when I kneel down in front of this to put it on my back, I can simply kneel down and put my feet right here, pull the straps over, clip, clip, stand up, and I'm in. With the other ones, you can't put your feet under here. So you've got to figure out a way to put them out in front of you, then rock to your knees, or leave it on the back of a truck, or try to finagle something to help you. So they do all sorts of things to make it look easy, like it's easy to get in, but it's quite honestly, when you're out in the field and you're getting ready to launch, you got your machine on your back, sometimes it can be a little bit of a hassle to get up, especially with as heavy as their units are. Fresh Breeze is very lightweight again, but it's so much easier when you can just stand up to a normal standing position. You don't have to twist your legs to one side or the other out in front of you to try to get your balance and stand up. You almost have to be a circus sideshow freak to get up in some of the other ones. With Fresh Breeze, because you have that, what we call a soft J system, you're in it very quickly. This is always hanging in the correct position on your back. If I were to borrow a friend's unit and he was 300 pounds and I'm 200 pounds, or somebody's 150 and I'm 250, it doesn't matter. I don't ever have to adjust the straps to fit me, because a Fresh Breeze is always self-adjusted to where it's on your back the proper way, the proper thrust line. There is no adjusting it to fit that pilot. All the other brands have to be adjusted, and you have to go into a hang harness, and then you have to adjust that, and it takes about a half an hour to do, and then it's locked into you, so nobody else can use it. It doesn't matter who flies a Fresh Breeze or what their body weight is, they can walk up to it, fit it on, and it's properly hanging on their back for the right thrust line right from the get-go. The other thing I like about the Fresh Breeze is it's not cumbersome. We don't have those cumbersome bars, but here's a really nice feature. If I ever want to get out of my unit real quick, let's say I did a water landing, and by the way, if you land in the water, it's your fault. You shouldn't go out over water where you can't glide back. So I want to say that. And I teach that in my training, how to avoid these things. But let's suppose you did put it into water, or you wanted to get out of it very quickly. You can with a fresh breeze. And here's how. We have a jettison feature. I'm out of it. I'm out of the machine. That fast, I can drop the motor off of my back and still I am connected to my wing and flying. If I wanted to drop my motor out of the sky and get it off of me, I could do that. You can't do that with any other motor on the market. Here's another thing that's really great about a fresh breeze. It's going to save you about $200 right off the bat. And you ask, how's that? Well, the other ones are completely fastened to their machine. The ones with the harness bars, or the comfort bars rather, are fastened to the machine. They're fastened at the top, they're fastened down at the bottom, they're fastened at the side, and they're bolted to the bars. You say, what's the problem with that? Well, now you don't have a training harness, so you're going to have to purchase one. This automatically acts as a training harness. You can use it during your in-flight training. There's nothing more comfortable than using this as a training harness, because it's actually what it's going to be like when you're training. Rather than a couple straps that they get from Home Depot or Lowe's, you're going to actually have a training harness that's made to be exactly the way it's going to be when you're flying. So you can connect your wing up to here, practice your training. You're not going to spend a couple $100 on a training harness. Another nice thing that you can do with this is if you want to free fly with it, you can actually go off of hills without the motor and free fly with this harness. No other unit can do this. They don't offer this type of harness system. Fresh Breeze is the unique sole proprietor of this harness system, so you can't get it anywhere else. But it comes standard with all of our units. I want to thank you for taking the time. Those are just some of the features that I like about the Fresh Breeze. There are so many more that I can tell you about. If you missed any part of this, please play it back over and over again. Go back, I encourage you with all my heart, go back and look at the other brands on the market. Compare each and every one of these things. The bearings on the crankshaft, the cylinder head for better cooling, the float bowl carburation, the triple jointed exhaust, the high energy ignition system, the muffler, the exhaust silencer, the intake silencer, the double ring cage, the harness system. You're going to pay more and you're not going to get these features. On top of it, anything purchased from Flight Junkies automatically gets you unlimited free training. Unlimited free training is not just for your initial class to get flying, and we spend as much time as you need because it's unlimited free training. No, we don't jack up the cost of the unit to cover the training. It truly is free. You're more than happy to take it anywhere else, but I've been the top instructor in the United States for over a decade and a half. I'm coming up on almost 800 students and have a perfect safety record. I want to train you, but if you're happier to go somewhere else, training was not included in the price, so I sell only the unit. If you get that, that's good enough for us. We're not going to charge you $2,500 for training. You come on in, take the training, take as long as you like, and we'll take as much as it takes to keep you safe. Later on, when you want to learn other things, you want to learn beginner aerobatics, advanced aerobatics, maybe you want to start taking your wife up or doing tandem, they're going to charge you $500 for this, $500 for that, $1,500 for this course. Ours is free. And let me tell you this, it's not just for you, it's for you, your wife, your kids, a friend of yours, his friend. I don't care. As long as you come with them and you bring the unit that you bought from Fresh Breeze, that is your ticket to unlimited free training forever. Another thing I do is I train free of charge in all 50 states. If you cannot come to me, whether drive down or fly down, if you can't come to one of my facilities in Ohio or in Florida, then we can come to you. I have trained in all 50 states. I have students in every state. I'm nearing 800 students when this video was produced. By the time you see it, I may be at more. But I've trained almost 800 students to date so far, and I've trained in all 50 states. And I have never charged a dime for training. If you buy equipment from us, that's your ticket to unlimited free training. You can buy any one piece of major equipment from us and get unlimited free training. You could buy a wing and get unlimited free training. You can buy a motor and get unlimited free training. You can buy just the trike. You get unlimited free training. I don't think there should be a cost on safety. Please, don't fly this thing yourself. Get good training. I've dedicated my life to training people for free. The other dealers can't stand it. They hate it. They don't like that I do that. They want to reach down into your pocket and grab you for another $2 grand, $1,500, and they want to convince you that their certified training is better. We'll talk about that scam later, but folks, thank you for joining me. If you have any questions, pick up the phone. I'm always available. Our phone lines are open from 8 in the morning until midnight for the past 16 years, so you can always reach us. And if we're not there, we're out in the field training, leave a message. You'll find out that we're very, very fast at getting back to you. We pride ourselves on customer service. We're very proud of the Fresh Breeze. We sell only the Fresh Breeze. We sell the best and forget all the rest. Thank you for joining me. If you have any other questions, I hope to see you in the air. Take care.